Well, less than half of Australians eligible to vote for the Indigenous voice to Parliament will vote yes. That's according to new Newspoll data. This exclusive poll conducted by The Australian has found 46% of voters would vote yes. 11% undecided. It is the first news poll asking voters the exact question they will be asked on referendum day. The data suggests the biggest supporting demographics are women, younger voters and those that are based in the city and university educated. Contrastingly, Australians who are more likely to say no were based in the regions, non-university educated and older. Australians are expected to vote in the referendum between October and December of this year. The Nationals leader David Littleproud says he wants the Prime Minister to let Australians choose between constitutional recognition and the voice.
Separate the question. Put a question about constitutional recognition in its isolation from the voice, and let Australians have a unifying moment rather than one that what he's created that is dividing this nation. And I think it's important that as political leaders we create that environment for him to be able to do that.
Joining me now live is From the Heart director, Dean Parkin. Dean, great to see you. That ship has sailed, I think, from David Littleproud's suggestion there. But the data from Newspoll, it's got to be concerning you this morning, is it?
Well, we've seen a number of polls, Laura. In fact, you'll see this issue, the referendum this year. It is going to be subject to an enormous amount of speculation and polling between now and the referendum. Our job is not to sit back and commentate or look too closely at the individual polls as they come. Our job is to do, as we've always said we need to do, get out there and drive the conversation in the communities across the country. And you know, it's understandable in some ways that there has been some tightening up in the numbers. We knew that this would always become contested. The conversation has been bogged in Canberra in politics, in a fair bit of negativity there. That phase is coming to an end. And so that'll allow us to increase the focus and get some more cut through on that conversation that's starting to grow significantly in the communities. We're seeing different groups come out and support. So that's, again, where we will continue to drive this all the way through to the referendum day. Yeah,
and you are out there talking to communities about how this might affect them. What is the feedback you're getting?
Well, it's a very different conversation. It's quite encouraging, actually, when you actually get out into the communities. That goodwill that we've talked about over a long period of time is absolutely still there. In fact, it's a very, very marked difference between a conspicuous lack of it in Canberra when you actually get out and you actually get out to the communities. There's a lot more curiosity. There's a lot more people coming to this quite fresh. And even, as I've said, people that have got some hesitations or concerns are still coming and going, look, I just want to know a little bit more about this. I want to understand this better. So, you know, almost saying, I want to vote yes. I just need you to help me get my head around it a little bit more. And there's 5 months between now and when we think the referendum will be had. We think there's plenty of time between now and then to actually have that conversation with more Australians across communities.
Yeah, so do you think politicians on the yes side, so the government, do you think they are helping with the campaign, or are the Canberra voices, as they are at the moment, more of a hindrance?
Well, in a way, the work that's been done over the last couple of months has just been an inevitable part of the process. We've had to go through this constitutional drafting work, getting the provision right, getting the question right, making sure, if you like, that the mechanics of the referendum are sound, they're safe. And so we think we've got to that point. The overwhelming weight of legal advice says that, yes, this is a safe proposition. We think it's capable of winning. But, you know, that kind of conversation turns off people in the country. They don't want to hear politicians arguing about that point, and that point. They want to know how this is going to have an impact on the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and why recognition is something that can keep the country together. So, and look, as I say, there's been encouragement on that front. Last week, 120 multicultural organisations came out and said support for the yes vote. The sporting bodies have come out. Yesterday, we saw Liberals for a Voice launch their campaign.
That's right.
Which is really important to make sure that people feel that there's a base of support there. So that those those kind of activities, those kinds of actions are really important to driving that community conversation.
I thought there was quite a clever speech from Anthony Albanese as well last week, and he said, you know, go one better. And he's talking about the 1967 referendum, when there was a referendum for constitutional change to recognise Indigenous people in the census, have them counted in the census. Now, decades on, it's unfathomable that would even be a contested thing, that Aboriginal people weren't included in the census. Seems crazy. Was that a clever comparison, do you think, for Anthony Albanese to draw that line, saying, look, this is just what's got to be done. In another couple of decades, we'll look back and this should be easy?
I think that's exactly right. And actually, you know, 1967 referendum was a huge achievement. But in a way, it was like, if you like, filling a pothole in the road. It was basically saying, well, Indigenous people have been excluded from the census and excluded from the powers of the federal parliament. This is different. This is actually saying we get to do something very positive, something very proactive in making that very positive statement of recognition of Indigenous peoples as the First Peoples, and doing something very practical through the voice. So I think that the comparison is a good one. And it shows that here in 2023, this year, we've got an opportunity to be part of something quite important, very much a unifying moment. And that's what we're starting to hear on the ground. People are talking about the possibility of what a successful yes vote looks like. And again, that gives us huge encouragement as we continue those conversations.
Okay, Dean, well, you'll be moving around those communities. I know you will. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Laura.